Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how you do it, even if you don't care. And this is, as per video description, a little bit of a afterthought video slash discussion about some things recently mentioned in the Battle of Doran'Por Part 5. For those who watched all the way to the end past the credits, you saw that there's a new YouTube channel called Fearless Games. And this is a channel that I've joined, actually in a sense created, with 3 other friends, Keeper of the Fortress being one of them, Cypher's Joker being another. I'll put links to their YouTube channels, as well as a link to Fearless Games at the bottom of this. And this is basically a YouTube channel dedicated to tabletop gaming hobbies in general. We're mainly going to be sticking with, wargaming for now, like Warhammer 40,000 and Battlefleet Gothic and stuff like that, stuff that we're familiar with, and hopefully over time it'll evolve into other games and the whatnot. You're going to see a lot of the videos that I've done here redone in HD and a little bit better production quality with better tips and tricks now that I've learned since I created the videos originally. And you'll also be getting to see this show called Touching Base, where all 4 of us will be getting together to talk about different issues and different events that we'll be running, because we're planning on running some events every so often. And, we'll talk about latest discussions, new codexes coming out and stuff like that, and just in general, hobby, shtick. And this channel is basically, here to try and, basically, it's just, so to help pool our resources to make one giant channel that can possibly be better than anything that we could ever do individually. And it's going to be really fun. We're going to have, like I said, a lot, tutorials, in-depth looks at new stuff coming out, discussions on new topics and story arcs and everything, battle reports, Battlefleet Gothic, related, as well as Warhammer 40,000 and any other games that we get our hands on. We might do a couple of things with Dawn of War 2 and maybe Space Marine, I don't know. We haven't really discussed in full detail what we're going to be doing yet. We've just started. We've got our first episode planned to shoot soon, and it should all be set up in about 2-3 weeks, depending on how long it takes to get everything rolling. It's going to be the Touching Base show is going to be shot in HD, and a couple of the episode shows on the channel will, aside from Touching Base, will also be done in HD. So awesome thing to look forward to there. And let's see what else. We're going to have contests, giveaways, and the stuff like that. We've got one contest idea coming up. We're just working out, seeing how we can get it done. And also, we're going to do events where we're working to see on maybe doing something at a local convention near us. Maybe even do a Games Day thing. We don't know entirely what we're going to be capable of doing or what we are able to do in our time and such. It's still fresh, brand new, like we haven't really gone anywhere yet. Like I said, we planned what our first episode of Touching Base is going to be. We planned when we're going to film it, and we're still working on a logo and stuff like that. And it's going to be really awesome. You guys should definitely give it a chance. There's no videos up yet, but you can subscribe. The channel is available, so you can subscribe and be one of the first to see episodes on the channel before anyone else does, before you get to know us before we're known, if we ever get that famous, like, Blue Table and mini wargame and stuff like that. I'm not sure if we will. We're hoping, but we're not going to be expecting. And so now that that's out of the way, again, when you get a chance, take a look at the link, subscribe to Fearless Games, take a look at the Keeper of the Fortress and Cypher's Joker's channels as well. They're both really cool guys, and a lot of awesome stuff going on. Keeper of the Fortress has been doing this a little bit longer than me, doing, like, the vlog thing. Cypher's Joker's just started out, so he's still got a very small following, but, it's growing. And so now let's go on to Battlefleet Gothic and general topics. First, I guess the foremost will be talking about the ending of the video, what you saw after. That, like I said, is planned, cited for 2012, not sure when. We're talking with a friend and some stuff to get things worked out and see what we can do. Probably not going to do every battle in the style that the Battle of Doran'Por was done. It's probably going to be some more generic battle reports, just because to do the Battle of Doran'Por style is just going to take so much time that I don't know if we'll be able to do every battle just like that. We'll have to see. We're most likely going to end up filming every battle first and then posting them after the fact. This way I have plenty of time to work on the episodes and not feel pressured to like really get them out there. And so so that's something to look forward to. Like I said, going to be 4 players minimum. There may be more people if other people decide to join in on this. So it's going to be a giant map campaign that you're going to see. Now, but maybe major events will be done in the style of the Battle of Doran'Por. We'll see. Like I said, I won't be able to do. I most likely do not foresee me doing all of the battle reports in that style, but I can assure that at least 1 or 2 of them, at least the big icon ones, the ones where I say this is so epic, this has to be done in that style, I'll definitely do them. So, now, going on, afterthoughts about the battle that we had. It was pretty interesting. There were a lot of times where I did think I was going to win, but looking back at the footage, I think I had the game won from the start. Just in general, because I did what was best, and that was I baited Phil with the Planet Killer. I made sure that that thing was just so imposing and so threatening that he just had to go for it and focus on getting rid of that thing because of its special rules. For those who are not aware, in a Exterminatus game, an Exterminatus ship loses its prow, or its bow or prow weapon in place of an Exterminatus weapon. It then has to get within 45 centimeters of the low orbit table edge and roll a 4 at the beginning of each player's turn before movement and orders are gone. You roll a d6 and on roll a 4 you fire the Exterminatus weapon. The Planet Killer ignores that. It just has to get into low orbit and say, I win. That's literally the Planet Killer's rules in Exterminatus. And it doesn't lose any of its weapons because the Armageddon gun functions as the Exterminatus weapon. So Phil was nervous about that the whole game. So I baited him with it, going, here it is, right in the front, getting a beeline straight forward. Had to go the shortest distance amongst the other Exterminatus ships, so I knew that Phil was going to go for it the most. My biggest worry was he was going to go for it the most, because I wasn't thinking the other 2 ships were going to survive with all of the planetary defenses he had, but I was hoping, so that was a big concern for me. But I could tell that it was, like, there was actually, I think, at one point where I told him, don't bother, it can't win. It lost the Armageddon gun. And he goes, no, I gotta destroy that thing. So, like, I got him so focused on it that the other ships were able to move up the sides with little to no resistance. Probably the biggest issue that Phil had was the fact that he was banking on his, other reinforcements coming in earlier in the game. We did a test Exterminatus game once to get an idea of, the rules and familiarity, and by round 2, his battleship showed up and it was right behind all my forces, and he just mowed me down and kind of had me trapped, and it was just devastating. And he was hoping for that kind of situation to happen again. He sort of got that when his 2 ships arrived, because at that point the Botany Bay couldn't get in because the Bentui was right there. The Bentui just ripped it apart. And the Justice fired on its first time firing the Nova Cannon, which I've never been able to successfully fire that thing where I want it to be. Phil does it automatically, and bam, he basically takes the Phantom out of commission. I was like, oh crap, he could actually win this now. And it was really devastating. One of the things that I think was biggest benefit to me was the fact that he kept failing to fire his lances. In lower orbit, you need to roll a 4 on a d6 before you can fire your lances, and he kept failing at that. So I was just getting weapon battery shots, which weren't doing too bad. And I also got him in that corner where he had to move down the line of ships to get to the Nemesis, because if he just ignored them, he'd be broadside on all sides and lose all of his ships. So I kind of had a nice nest protecting the Nemesis, so I had a very nice setup at that point. The only thing I had to worry about was the ordnance stuff. And I think my greatest move that it secured my victory, like, to no end, there was no way he was going to win, was at the very end when I took that fighter wave and broke up the fighters and attacked each wave, because as the rulebook states, waves of bombers count as one wave. So I was able to wipe out the whole section. If he had some fighters in there, probably would have been able to protect the bombers a little bit better, but he was going more for attacks over defense. So that worked to my advantage. And that was probably my best opportunity, like my greatest move in the game. Aside from the whole, okay, just move these guys, don't, like, I feel if the Exterminatus ships and their cruisers did more damage, then they would have gotten more attention. But they were very, don't bother, paying attention to me, ignore me! And he did. I was not expecting the Liberty to blow up all of Phil's escorts. I was just like, oh wow, that totally makes my job easier. And he kept destroying his escorts. I mean, yeah, I think I only destroyed one escort out of all the escorts he had. Let's see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He had 12 escorts, and he was down to 1 by the end of the game, and I only killed 1 of those 12 escorts. Everything else was his models. Granted, it was because I destroyed the Liberty that it exploded and did all that, but he did all the dice rolling, so it really was all like a nasty little bit there. I felt so bad that that happened. I just couldn't believe what we were seeing at that point. And let's see. Things that I could have done better, I should have forgoed firing the Armageddon gun and just kept all ahead fulling. Then I could have made the game go a lot faster. I mean, we played that game for 6.5 hours, not counting a hour-and-a-half dinner break. And I feel so bad for my girlfriend, because she was literally sitting there the whole time watching us play, and she has no interest whatsoever in the game at all. Thankfully, Phil had his computer so she could do some Facebooking stuff, so she wasn't completely bored out of her skull, but I was just like, wow, she is by far probably the most... She's the one who really wanted that game to end, because more than we did. Like, there was that point where we were just like, oh god, when's this gonna end? It didn't really affect our strategy of the game, because we both wanted to win, because we both wanted to end the game, but we were just sitting there like, yeez, this... I think Phil at one point actually said, we're never doing this again, unless we have more players. I'm taking bets on how long that's going to last before we actually break that rule and do something this crazy again. Like, for those who may not know, we did 3,600 points, roughly, in that game, and that is 1,000 points more than what Games Workshop had intended for you to play this game with. So, it was a very large game. And it was just a huge thing. It took us forever. Like I said, it took 6 hours to do. So it was just ungodly long, but in the end it was so much fun, and we were so happy that we did it. But yeah, like I said, I think I should have just all-ahead fold the entire way with the Planet Killer. That way I could have ended it really easily and had the Planet Killer destroy the planet, but I was just happy to get it out of there before he blew it up, because it literally had 1 hit point left, and it was, thankfully it survived. So I was like, crap, I wanted that thing to survive. I wanted it to survive its maiden voyage game. So I was happy about that. In terms of the actual battle report, I was very shocked that people liked it so much. I mean, not that I thought it was stupid or anything. Like, I personally had fun doing the whole video thing. I loved doing that and doing all the voices and all the cuts and everything. But I was just sitting there going, I don't know if people are going to like this. I think a lot of people are going to ask me to stop halfway through. I was very shocked about how large of a positive response it got from everyone. Thank you, everyone who enjoyed it. I mean, if you didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be making them. And, you know, that's my biggest goal, is to entertain everybody. And so I was very glad that it took off and was well accepted as it was. Because I know, like, everyone has their particulars as to how battle reports should be played, and I just, like, in a sense, I feel like I was trying something different, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I was kind of a little nervous as to how it was going to be, taken. It was supposed to be a little bit more intricate than what it was, because we're going to have, like, every move, so-and-so moving forward, so-and-so attacking, so-and-so missed, so-and-so got hit, and, like, literally every single bit. And I was like, no, not happening. And I decided to do the format that I did, which I think was a better choice than the original format. I think that format people would have not liked at all, because the game would have just, boom, this thing would still be going on if I did the original format, which was to voice act out every single moment of the game. So I'm glad that I decided at the last minute to just say, you know, forget this, I'm just going to do this more like a diary journal thing. Which I think, like I said, everyone seemed to like it, and I think it was a good approach. Simple, got everything told right, and added a little bit flavor to how it worked. Probably the easiest voice to do was the Commander Striker, because it was just me talking. I basically just how shall I say, upperclassed my voice to make me sound more important and more higher society and better than all those that are below me. So it wasn't really that hard. The hardest part was making the monologue and that character sound pseudo the same. Like, I don't sound completely the same, because I'm sitting there like, the Chaos Fleet move forward. It sounded similar enough, but it was hard to try and make them sound completely similar without me just talking normally. And also throwing in some emotion when Commander Striker talked, so you knew when it was him talking and not monologue. That was probably the most challenging with his voice. The hardest voices would have to be the Tau, especially Loon Young. Loon Young was very hard to do because it was just so straightful on my vocal cords. 'Cause I was doing this over, and I had to talk like this and try to get some emotion behind it. And it just really killed my throat. And again, it was really hard to try and throw some emotion his way to make him sound like he was feeling something throughout it, and not sound like just me trying to read from, like just making me sound like I'm reading from a script in a silly voice just to make it a silly voice. Sort of like those old audio book reads in school where the guy, you know, did very cheesy voices to just indicate different characters. Also, the extras for the Tau were also really hard because I really had trouble figuring out how a Tau would sound. Maybe because they're only in they only have their voices aren't very rarely heard that much in the games. And I just couldn't think of a way to properly, do their voice. Probably if I played the Tau in Dark Crusade more, I'd probably get a better idea, but it just wasn't happening. I just could not think of a nice way to make their voices sound different and sound Tau-y. So that was probably the hardest set to do. The most fun was Chaos. I mean, I got to do all these crazy, neat, dark, guttury voices to try and make them all sound nasty and evil. And just the added filter, when I discovered on YouTube a tutorial on how to do Space Marine sounding voices with filters and such, was great. I liked playing the Chaos Lord, because I got to really, like, I was screaming and yelling so loud in my house. At one point, when I did the trailer and I was screaming, "Let the galaxy burn for the War Master," the second I ended that, thankfully it was right after, my mom burst into my room and goes, "Are you okay? Are you alright?" Like, it was so good because I was just screaming at the top of my lungs, yelling. I wonder what all my neighbors were thinking was going on, because I was sitting there going, "Ah, you will die, blah, blah, blah." And it was great. I pseudo-use this voice that I tend to use sometimes when I do, a Vegeta-type voice. Sometimes, you know, when I do some cosplay stuff, I tend to do, when we do Dragon Ball Z stuff, I tend to like the Ocean Dub version of Vegeta, so I try to simulate that a little bit. So I took a little bit of what I used for my Vegeta voice. I didn't go full-fledged, because that also kills my voice really easy. This one was a little toned down a little bit. I put more volume and changed my pitch just slightly so I could do it over and over again without killing my voice, unlike the Tau voice for Lun Yung. And that was just fun. I just love screaming in the microphone, proclaiming that the galaxy will burn and everything. It was probably one of my favorite voices to do out of all of them. And I already came up with a backstory for that dude at the very end. At the very end of the video, who in a sense was in command of the Nemesis. I'm already coming up with a backstory with him, and I'm planning a model build for him. I already got what he's going to be and all that. So that's a lot of fun. I can't wait to get working on him. He's going to be very neat. Hopefully he comes out right. And my I have 3 favorite moments in the game when it was all cut and edited. The first one has to be when I fire the Armageddon gun. I love that whole sequence from when he goes, "How dare you insult me with that name, I shall show you what happens when you insult the Sons of Horus, release all safety locks, fire the main gun," all the way to "Let the galaxy burn for the War Master." That was one of my favorite moments. You know, I felt like the tension. I thought I really captured tension really well in that single scene. And thanks to my girlfriend, you know, to give me, you know, an extra voice for the Adaptus Mechanicum computer sound. And it would have been even cooler if if I had more time and patience to sit there and do it. I actually was going to use a rotoscope to put in a lightsaber effect to make the beam of the Armageddon gun, but it was taking so long. I was like, no, next time I get a chance, we'll do that proper so we can actually show that, which would have been fun, but I think it was great just the way it is. I love playing that video clip. The other one has to be the ending, the conclusion to Battle of Doran'Por Part 5. I kind of like that, mainly because the music is so great, and the visuals were just so well done, and it was very simple, and it had I like the ending a lot. I think the ending was really done very well out of most of the video. And my third favorite is the very end, after the credits. I love that part. That gets me so pumped, and I have to thank Keeper of the Fortress for that, and for letting me borrow his Necrons, and partaking in the voice and everything. And also have to thank Phil, because he let me borrow his Tau so I can do the whole thing. And in general, that was basically it. I mean, I can't wait to get started on my next BFG game. I've got a lot of stuff planned. A couple of I want to buy a couple more ships, fill out my escorts a little bit, fix up my Eldar a little bit, and I'm planning on building a Space Marine set. So that's going to be really cool. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then I can make more cool voices for Space Marines and such if I ever do a battle report with them. Let's see, what else? There actually was an alternate ending to that game that we were planning, where if it ended in a specific way, it actually would have ended up being 2 games in one. It would have gone from the Exterminatus mission straight into the next mission if things went differently. And I told Philip, I was like, okay, this, and this will happen. And he goes, so you basically mean this, and this? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, that is awesome. I like it. And so it would have been really cool. But unfortunately it didn't happen. But it's still great. Like I said, I really can't wait to see how the rest of this turns out. I've got some new models coming in that'll be fun. And so, yes, if you get a chance, subscribe to Fearless Games, and keep a lookout. Latest December, and hopefully mid-November, we'll have our first episode and content up, and that's all for now. Until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.